The Stonehenge is a prehistoric monument in Wiltshire, one of the most recognizable monoliths of the late Neolithic period, built some 5,000 years ago.
They started moving massive stones over 4,000 years ago. No cranes, no trucks, no modern machinery. Just sheer human effort, primitive tools, and a mysterious purpose we still can't fully explain. Why would ancient people carry stones weighing up to 40 tons from quarries more than 150 miles away? And why build them in precise circular patterns, perfectly aligned with the sun's movements? This isn't just archaeology. It's a puzzle that has baffled scientists, historians, and engineers for centuries, and only now are we beginning to glimpse the truth. Stonehenge stands on the Salisbury Plain in England, an isolated plateau surrounded by rolling hills. At first glance, it might look like a simple arrangement of upright stones. But each rock, each placement, is deliberate. Archaeologists have long debated its purpose: a temple, a burial ground, a calendar, or even a site of ancient rituals. The truth is more complicated and far more intriguing. Every layer of soil, every stone chip tells a story that hints at advanced knowledge hidden in plain sight. Recent discoveries suggest that Stonehenge was not built all at once. It evolved over centuries, with multiple construction phases. The earliest stages began with simple earthworks and timber circles. Later, massive sarsen stones were added, followed by the smaller bluestones from the Preseli Hills in Wales. Transporting these stones over such distances remains one of history's most confounding engineering feats. Some researchers speculate that waterways and wooden sledges were used, while others propose techniques that defy conventional understanding. Whoever built this monument was not only ambitious, they were precise, patient, and surprisingly sophisticated. But beyond the mechanics lies an even deeper mystery. Why here? Why this exact location? Stonehenge aligns almost perfectly with the solstices. At sunrise on the summer solstice, the sun rises directly over the heel stone, casting a beam across the monument's center. Ancient builders knew these patterns, predicting celestial events decades in advance. This implies a level of astronomical understanding that rivals some modern calculations. It also suggests that Stonehenge was part of a broader system of observation and recording, possibly connecting with other sacred or scientific sites across Europe. What fascinates researchers the most is the hidden pattern beneath the surface. Modern ground-penetrating radar has revealed a web of ditches, pits, and buried structures stretching far beyond the standing stones. Some of these features predate the stones themselves, hinting that Stonehenge was deliberately constructed on a location already considered sacred or scientifically significant. Could this knowledge have been passed down from even older civilizations, now lost to time? Every answer seems to open a new question. Stonehenge is more than an ancient monument. It's a doorway into a forgotten world of engineering, observation, and perhaps even power. The closer scientists get, the more layers of mystery unfold, suggesting that everything we think we know about the origins of this site might only scratch the surface. The stones are not random. They are shaped, locked together, balanced in ways that should not survive 4,000 years of wind and rain. Yet they do. And that raises a quiet but serious question. Were these builders more advanced than we have assumed? The largest stones, called sarsens, weigh as much as 40 tons. They were carried from Marlborough Downs, nearly 20 miles away. The smaller bluestones came from Wales, over 150 miles away. Moving them was not just hard. It was almost impossible without planning at a national scale. To move one 40-ton stone would require hundreds of people working in perfect coordination. They would need food, shelter, tools, and clear leadership. This was not a small tribe acting alone. It suggests a society with structure, authority, and long-term vision. But the real surprise is not transport. It is precision. The stones are arranged in near-perfect circles and horseshoe shapes. Each lintel, the horizontal stone placed on top, was shaped with tongue-and-groove joints. These joints are similar to woodworking techniques. They lock the stones together so they do not slide apart. This is careful engineering, not guesswork. Even more impressive is the alignment. Stonehenge is positioned to mark the summer and winter solstices with stunning accuracy. When the sun rises on the longest day of the year, it aligns with the heel stone and shines into the center of the monument. On the shortest day, The sunset lines up with the main axis in the opposite direction. This is not luck. To build something like this, ancient planners had to observe the sky for decades. They needed to track the sun's path across seasons and years. That means long-term data collection. It means record-keeping. It means mathematical thinking. And it does not stop with the sun. Some researchers believe the monument may also track lunar cycles. The moon's orbit shifts in complex patterns over an 18.6-year cycle. Certain features around Stonehenge appear to match this rhythm. If that is true, then the builders understood celestial mechanics in a way we are only now beginning to appreciate. But here is where it becomes even more unsettling. Modern 3D scans show subtle curves and optical adjustments in the layout. The stones are not placed in a perfect flat circle. They are slightly tilted and curved to create visual balance. From certain angles, the monument appears symmetrical even when the land beneath it slopes gently. That means the builders corrected for perspective. They were not just stacking rocks. They were shaping human perception. Who taught them this? There is no clear evidence of written records from that time in Britain. No blueprints. No instruction manuals. Yet the knowledge had to come from somewhere. Some historians argue this was the natural growth of local skill. Others believe trade routes connected Britain to wider European cultures, allowing ideas to travel along with goods. Copper tools found near the site suggest exchange networks existed. Knowledge may have moved the same way. Still, one fact remains hard to ignore. Stonehenge required coordination across regions, advanced planning, and scientific observation over generations. It was not built for survival. It was built for meaning. And when a society invests that much energy into a single monument, it is usually because something larger is at stake. If this story is opening your eyes, consider subscribing. Because what we uncover next begins to connect Stonehenge to a much wider global pattern, one that stretches far beyond England. Stonehenge does not stand alone. For centuries, it was treated as an isolated wonder, a strange ring of stones in a quiet English field. But as satellite imaging improved, and as archaeologists began comparing global data, something unexpected appeared. The same patterns found at Stonehenge were showing up in distant parts of the world. The alignment with the solstices is not unique. Ancient sites in Ireland, Egypt, Peru, and even parts of Asia show similar solar tracking. Massive structures, built with limited tools, placed in exact relation to the sky. The sun rising through narrow corridors. The moon framed by stone openings. Shadow lines marking precise days of the year. This could be coincidence. After all, every civilization looks at the same sky, but the patterns go deeper. The dimensions of Stonehenge reflect repeated geometric ratios. Circles within circles. Rectangular layouts tied to specific angles. Some researchers have compared these ratios to other ancient monuments and found mathematical similarities. Not identical, but close enough to raise questions. How did distant cultures, separated by oceans and thousands of miles, arrive at comparable designs? One explanation is simple. Humans everywhere observe nature. They measure the seasons. They track the sky to guide farming. Over time, similar needs produce similar solutions. But another layer complicates that theory. Recent mapping around Stonehenge revealed hidden structures buried under the soil. Dozens of smaller monuments. Pathways that align not just with the sun, but with distant landmarks and water sources. The landscape itself appears to have been engineered as part of a larger system. This was not just one monument. It was part of a network, and that network may have stretched further than we thought. Trade evidence from the Bronze Age shows that materials traveled long distances across Europe. Amber from the Baltic Sea reached Britain. Metals moved across continents. If goods could travel, so could ideas. Imagine knowledge moving quietly across generations. Observations about the sky shared between traders. Methods of measurement passed through ritual leaders. Geometric principles exchanged during seasonal gatherings. There is no proof of a global ancient civilization secretly controlling the world. That idea goes too far. But it is clear that communication networks existed. And within those networks, knowledge could spread. What makes this story more serious is timing. Many of these monuments appeared during periods of social change. Climate shifts. Population movements. Times when control over food and land became critical. Tracking the seasons was not just spiritual. It was strategic. If you could predict solstices and lunar cycles with accuracy, You could control planting, harvesting, and ceremonies. You could shape belief. You could build authority. Stonehenge may have functioned as a scientific tool, but it may also have served as a center of influence. And that brings us to a quiet but powerful idea. What if Stonehenge was not just observing the sky, but organizing society around that knowledge? Because when knowledge becomes rare and powerful, it shapes power structures. If this investigation is changing how you see ancient history, stay with us. The next chapter shifts from archaeology to something modern. Because now, artificial intelligence has entered the story, and what it found was not expected. For thousands of years, Stonehenge kept its silence. Archaeologists measured it with tape and compass. Astronomers mapped the sky by hand. Historians debated its purpose in books and lectures. Each generation added pieces to the puzzle. But human observation has limits. We see patterns based on what we expect to see. Artificial intelligence does not. In the last decade, researchers began feeding massive datasets into machine learning systems. They included high-resolution 3D scans of the stones, satellite images of the surrounding landscape, soil analysis records, and astronomical simulations covering thousands of years. The goal was simple: let the system search for patterns without bias. What it returned was unsettling. The AI detected geometric relationships that humans had overlooked. Subtle alignments between outer earthworks and distant horizon points. Ratios between stone distances that matched predictable astronomical cycles with extreme accuracy. Not just the solstices. Not just the 18.6-year lunar cycle. But longer-term celestial shifts that unfold over centuries. This suggests something profound. The builders may have been tracking not only annual seasons, but generational sky movements. Events so slow that a single lifetime could not fully observe them. That would require knowledge passed carefully from one generation to the next. It would require continuity, stability, and a long-term vision of time. But there was more. The AI mapped underground structures around Stonehenge and found spatial symmetry extending far beyond the visible stones. When layered digitally, the surrounding monuments formed a large-scale pattern centered precisely on the main circle. The landscape was not random. It was mathematically organized. In simulations, researchers tested whether this design could predict eclipses. The results were not perfect, but they were closer than expected for a society without modern instruments. This does not mean ancient builders had computers. It does not mean lost super technology. What it does mean is that their understanding of observation and geometry may have been far more advanced than we gave them credit for. And here is where the tension rises. When AI compared Stonehenge's layout with other ancient sites around the world, statistical similarities increased. Again, not identical blueprints, but repeated structural logic. Circular formations aligned to solar and lunar nodes. Pathways oriented to celestial rise points. AI does not believe in myths. It calculates probability. And the probability of these patterns being random continues to shrink. That forces us to confront a difficult idea. Either human societies across the ancient world independently developed advanced astronomical systems at roughly similar times, or knowledge traveled in organized ways much earlier than our history books suggest. Neither explanation is simple. If knowledge traveled widely, who controlled it? Who protected it? And why did so much of it vanish? Stonehenge may not just be a monument. It may be a surviving fragment of a broader scientific culture that faded, fractured, or was absorbed into later civilizations. If you value deep investigations like this, consider supporting the channel. Because what comes next is not just about the past. It touches geopolitics, power, and the way modern systems use knowledge today. Stonehenge is no longer just an ancient circle of stones. With AI revealing deeper patterns, the conversation shifts from archaeology to power. Because knowledge has always shaped control. In ancient times, those who understood the sky could predict seasons. They could plan harvests. They could decide when rituals happened. That knowledge created authority. Now think about today. We live in a world guided by satellites, algorithms, and predictive systems. Governments track weather, crop cycles, migration patterns, and economic trends using advanced models. Artificial intelligence studies data at a scale no human mind can manage. The same core idea remains. Those who understand patterns can shape outcomes. Stonehenge may represent one of the earliest large-scale pattern systems built into physical space. A monument designed not just to honor the sky, but to organize society around reliable knowledge. That idea is not mystical. It is structural. When AI examined the site, it did not claim aliens. It did not claim lost machines. It showed us structured observation embedded in stone. And that forces a serious reflection. Ancient societies were not primitive in thought. They were limited in tools. But with patience and collective memory, they achieved precise understanding of long-term cycles. They built monuments that acted as public data systems. Anyone standing there could witness the sun align. Anyone could see the cycle repeat. The knowledge was visible. Modern systems are different. Today, predictive models are hidden inside code. Algorithms operate in private servers. The public cannot see the math behind them. Decisions about resources, security, and influence happen behind digital walls. Stonehenge was transparent knowledge. Modern AI can be opaque knowledge. That contrast is powerful. When researchers compared global ancient sites, they noticed that many emerged during times of environmental stress. Climate shifts forced societies to adapt. Tracking the sky helped them survive unstable seasons. Knowledge became survival strategy. We are entering a similar moment now. Climate instability is real. Resource distribution is uneven. Geopolitical tensions rise as nations compete for influence. Artificial intelligence is used to forecast, to optimize, and sometimes to control. The deeper question is not whether Stonehenge was terrifying. The deeper question is whether we have learned from it. Ancient builders invested generations into stable knowledge systems. They encoded observation into stone, where no single ruler could easily erase it. The monument survived wars, invasions, and political change. Modern data systems do not have that physical permanence. They can be altered, restricted, or controlled. AI helped us see the intelligence of the past, but it also shows us something about the present. We are not the first society to depend on predictive systems. We are simply the first to hide them inside machines. Stonehenge reminds us that knowledge can unify or divide. It can empower communities or centralize authority. And that leaves us with one final question. If an ancient society built a monument to openly share its understanding of the cosmos, what are we building today? Systems that enlighten everyone, or systems that concentrate power in ways we barely notice? If this investigation made you think differently about history and the world we live in, subscribe and stay with us. Because the biggest mysteries are often not buried in the ground. They are unfolding in real time.